Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Clara Hout, and I'm excited to be here today to share in this wonderful dissertation and practice presentation by Lou Seelig. I'm going to introduce Dr. Pisani, who is Lou's LDFM, to start our presentation proceedings.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Joe Pisani. I serve as Lou Seelig's LDFM here at Marymount University, and we are prepared for Lou's final presentation for his dissertation in practice in Bridging the Gap, Strategies for the Private Sector to Overcome Veteran Underemployment in the Civilian Workforce. And I will now moderate today's presentation, and I'd like to turn it over to Lou's committee to ask them to introduce themselves. So Dr. Houth, could you go first?
As noted, I'm Dr. Hout. I'm faculty for ED 802, the final course in the EDD program. I'm also the program director here at Marymount for the EDD in organizational leadership. So we're excited. I'm very excited to be here. I met Lou from the very beginning of the program, and it's very exciting to see his research here today, and I'm looking forward to the presentation. Thank you.
John, please.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Dr. Pisani. I'm John Olsak, and I have known Lou for approximately 15 years. We are neighbors and friends here in the community, and we've worked together on a number of things over those 15 years. In my past careers, I spent 25 years on active duty in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and retired in 1992 as a lieutenant colonel. I went on to serve 20 years in industry, completing those 20 years as a vice president of Northrop Grumman Corporation. And while meeting and working with Lou here in the community, I also served on the board of directors for our homeowners association. And the last year of that service, I was president of the board of directors, and Lou and I collaborated on a number of projects during those years, which I'm very thankful for Lou's input on. So thank you again for the opportunity to participate, and I look forward to the presentation.
Thank you. As we prepare for the presentation, we ask that you ensure that all your cell phones and electronic devices are either on mute or turned off. If you're on Zoom, please mute your microphone and turn your camera off as not to distract Lou from his presentation. During this presentation, the committee will be on camera, so you'll be able to witness the presentation from Lou and see the PowerPoint slide as well. Please note that this is going to be recorded by Marymount University. However, outside recordings are not permissible. The copy of the recording for Marymount will then become part of our digital library for people to witness. Just as an idea of what's going to occur, Lou is going to have about 30 minutes to do the dissertation presentation. After the presentation, we allow 20 to 30 minutes for questioning from the committee or any other faculty members. Once that has been completed, Lou will be sent to a breakout room. All guests will be sent to a different breakout room, and the committee will confer. Once the committee is finished conferring on the presentation and the questioning that Lou had finished, we'll bring Lou back. We'll discuss our findings with Lou, and then we'll bring the guests back to share the news from the findings of the committee. That's generally how we're going to do this. And then at the end, that's where the guests can offer their congratulatory comments. They can come off of mute and come off the camera being off and share their thoughts and their congratulations with Lou. So at this point, I would like to turn this presentation over to the star of the show. So Lou, please take center stage, and best of luck.
Thank you, and good morning. My name is Lou Seelig, and it is with deep humility and profound respect that I'm before you today to present my dissertation in practice titled Bridging the Gap, Strategies for the Private Sector to Overcome Veteran Underemployment in the Civilian Workforce. Before we begin, I want to offer more than just an introduction. I want to offer a tribute. This research is dedicated to the men and women who have worn the uniform, not just for the battles they fought abroad, but for the ones they continue to face at home. Veterans whose courage didn't end with service, but continued through transition, through uncertainty, through a system that too often fails to see their worth. Your strength, your sacrifice, and your stories are the soul of this work. You're not the subject of this research, you are its compass. And to my committee, Joseph Pisani, Dr. Joseph Pisani, Dr. Clara Hoth, and Lieutenant Colonel John Olsek, thank you for your unwavering support, your insight, and your belief in the urgency of this study. And the faculty of Marymount University, your guidance has not only shaped my scholarship, it has deepened my responsibility to lead with compassion and purpose. This is more than an academic exercise. It is a mission to honor service with action and to challenge the systems that fall short of doing so. So let's begin. Throughout my doctoral journey, I deeply engaged with leadership becoming a change maker, focused on veteran underemployment. Courses like ED 703 and 801 equipped me with methodological tools to transform lived experiences into data-driven insights, empowering me to tackle real-world challenges faced by veterans in the workforce. In ED 701 and 711, I explored ethical leadership, establishing fairness in hiring is a responsibility, not an act of charity. My dissertation and practice reflected this philosophy. Courses like ED 702 and 704 fostered collaboration, while 714 and 800 made theory actionable, turning case studies into blueprints for reform. This program equipped me with more than just credentials. It provided clarity, purpose, and tools to create impactful changes for veterans. All of my work at Marymount is included in my portfolio, which can be accessed through the link at the bottom of this chart. The doctoral journey has sharpened my scholarship and ignited my leadership in ED 702. The Transformational Leadership Change Project taught me to balance vision and implementation while confronting resistance, thereby enhancing the relevance of my research. In ED 714, Global Leadership and Policy, I learned that effective leadership requires cultural intelligence and geopolitical awareness, prioritizing equity and empathy. Through my exploration of the delayed recognition of national merit scholars at Thomas Jefferson High School in ED 701, I discovered how bureaucracy can undermine excellence, emphasizing the need for research that challenged the status quo. These experiences have shaped my approach to leadership and problem solving, equipping me to tackle complex challenges effectively. Imagine spending years to a noble mission, only to face indifference in civilian life. For many veterans, this harsh reality follows their sacrifice and dedication, leaving them feeling unrecognized and lost. Nearly half of post 9/11 veterans reported difficulty adjusting to civilian work life, and 1 in 3 face underemployment, a far higher standard than that of their civilian counterparts. Today, I will explore the root causes of veteran underemployment and propose strategies for businesses to recognize, leverage, and retain this valuable talent. The focus is on understanding what contributes to veteran struggles, in finding suitable roles, and identifying effective support methods for their transition into meaningful careers. Addressing veteran underemployment is not just a social justice issue, it's a missed national opportunity. Veterans bring invaluable assets, leadership, adaptability, and mission-first mindset that can transform teams. However, many organizations fail to leverage this potential due to rigid hiring practices and misconceptions about veterans. This research seeks to change that narrative. It envisions a workforce where veterans are empowered and their leadership is recognized, contributing positively to economic growth. Veteran underemployment is a call to action for businesses, policymakers, and everyone to hire with purpose and lead with vision. To understand veteran underemployment, we need to consider the frameworks that influence their post-service experience. This review reveals a critical truth. Veterans bring valuable skills and leadership that many systems fail to recognize. Two key theories illuminate this disconnect. Person job fit theory highlights the misalignment between veterans' diverse skills and civilian roles, leading to the underutilization of their potential. The human capital theory emphasizes that veterans' education and experience are often overlooked, thereby reducing their value to employers. These theories show that capable veterans are often overlooked rather than embraced. Businesses and policymakers must shift from passive support to actively aligning job opportunities with the skills veterans offer. By valuing each veteran's unique journey, we can unlock a wealth of untapped leadership potential. Behind polished resumes and uniforms lies a troubling truth. Veterans face invisible hurdles in transitioning to civilian careers. Over half express dissatisfaction with their compensation due to a perceived mismatch between their military roles and the recognition they received in civilian life. Additionally, 41% feel undereducated and undertrained, not due to a lack of intelligence, but because civilian systems often undervalue their military skills. Alarmingly, 30% cited toxic or exclusionary company cultures as a barrier. Current literature reveals significant gaps in understanding veterans' transition experiences and fails to fully acknowledge their diverse skills and perspectives. This chapter highlights these deficiencies, emphasizing that addressing them is crucial for developing systems that value and integrate veterans who have already made significant sacrifices. The stakes are personal and require immediate action. Now I want to introduce you to my research questions. The research questions serve as a guiding framework for the entire study, shaping its scope, design, and analytical focus. They ensured that the inquiry remained purpose-driven, aligning participant selection, data interpretation, and theoretical grounding in transformational leadership. Ultimately, they transformed a complex social issue into a focused exploration of meaning, impact, and actionable insight. Research question 1 addresses specific issues, including job search challenges, employer perceptions, in the alignment of jobs with veterans' skills and abilities. Research question 2 examines strategies and initiatives that support veterans' transitions, including support programs and biases that affect employment outcome. Research question 3 focuses on the personal narratives to understand the emotional and career impact of underemployment, as well as the factors that enable successful career advancement. This chapter outlines the human-centered study designed grounded in interpretive paradigm using a phenomenological method within a qualitative framework. The research aimed to explore not only veterans' actions in civilian life, but also their experiences during this complex transition. I conducted in-depth interviews with 8 purposefully selected veterans, emphasizing depth over breadth. These intimate conversations aim not to generalize, but to illuminate the invisible challenges and emotions, the frustrations, the resilience, identity loss, and rediscovery that characterize the veteran employment journey. While the findings may not apply to all, they offer valuable insights into systemic gaps and moments of growth. The real significance lies in the stories told and the lessons they offer about leadership, policy, and practice, if we choose to listen. In my search for meaning behind the metrics, I turned to veterans navigating the uncertain terrain between honor and employability. Recruitment began with trusted veterans communities and podcasts, using snowballing sampling to reach those who had separated from military service within the last decade. Each referral contributed to a larger tapestry of shared experiences and struggles. Participation was voluntary and grounded in trust, confirmed through consent and mutual respect. I conducted semi-structured interviews with 8 veterans whose stories were marked by significant depth and detail. These conversations delved into more than just employment. They unveiled the complex emotions where discipline met disillusionment, and pride collided with civilian misunderstanding. The study captured nuances that quantitative surveys couldn't, highlighting the identity fractures, systemic blind spots, and strengths that characterize transition from uniform to uncertainty. This chapter brings to life the veteran employment experience through narratives that highlight the unseen challenges they face. The collected data reveals their journey from military backgrounds to civilian roles, capturing their satisfaction, support systems, and relevance of their skills. Each question served as an invitation for veterans to express what works, what doesn't, and what leaders overlook. Using open coding, interview transcripts were analyzed not just for themes, but to honor their meaning. Key patterns emerged: pride versus invisibility, competence versus perception, and resilience in the face of systemic indifference. Every effort was made to protect these voices, with transcripts encrypted and stored securely, reflecting a commitment to safeguarding their stories. Within these pages lie not just findings, but essential truths that can drive meaningful reform. Beneath the surfaces of civilian resumes lies a battlefield of invisible barriers for veterans transitioning to civilian employment. This shift often involves a loss of identity and recognition, making the process feel like a reckoning for many. The study highlights that veterans' underemployment stems from internal challenges and external misperceptions. Internally, veterans struggle with disorientation while trying to repurpose their skills in environments that undervalue them. Externally, biases lead employers to misjudge veterans as inflexible, regardless of their qualifications and abilities. Bureaucratic hiring processes further complicate matters, extending the search for meaningful employment. One veteran noted, "It took me 365 days to find a job," pointing to employers' perception as a significant hurdle. Although some veterans ultimately succeed in fields like IT and management, many start their careers underemployed. The core issue isn't their capability, but whether the civilian world is ready to recognize their value. Beneath the surface of various career fields lies a common story of untapped potential and systemic hurdles that veterans face. In IT, they often possess strong technical skills, but lack the required credentials, resulting in stalled advancement despite their abilities. In government contracting, leadership roles are uncertain, as contracts and funding can be withdrawn, leaving seasoned professionals to navigate instability once again. In engineering, while stability has value, the leadership skills often go unrecognized, with veterans being seen as workers rather than strategic thinkers. In trade and management, they often start anew at the entry level, despite having previously led missions. The core issue across all industries isn't lack of skills, but rather the ability to translate their experiences into the language employers understand. Without targeted strategies to bridge this gap, we risk perpetuating underemployment that undermines the value that veterans bring. As veterans transition into civilian jobs, they face not just new careers, but also new cultures. While many organizations provide helpful resources, such as mentorship and resume workshops, their effectiveness can vary. One veteran noted, "Hire Heroes USA took my resume and made me a rock star," highlighting the importance of being recognized for one's skills and abilities. However, many veterans struggle with cultural disconnects related to communication styles and stereotypes, which can hinder their prospects. These biases not only delay job offers, but impact their dignity. Companies with strong veteran representation often perform better, yet many are still figuring out how to provide genuine support. The key takeaway is that without targeted programs and efforts to disrupt bias, support for veterans remains superficial. Veterans are not charity cases. They are skilled leaders navigating a new landscape. When organizations choose to actively support them, they not only fill positions, but they redefine the value of excellence. The transition from military to civilian employment is rarely straightforward and often lacks effective support systems. Veterans possess discipline, skill, and drive, yet they often face challenges due to the fragmentation of programs. While the VA Disability Support Program offers financial relief, it provides little career direction. The GI Bill facilitates education, but not all degrees align with civilian job requirements, leaving graduates underemployed. Workforce councils offer valuable resources, but access is inconsistent across regions. Transition assistance programs tend to focus on basic resume and interview prep without addressing the deeper identity changes veterans experience. This disjointed system forces veterans to piece together their own support networks, often leaving critical gaps in their care. Real integration requires personalization, coordination, and a recognition of veterans' worth, rather than trying to fix them. The transition to civilian employment often disrupts veterans' identities, as they carry leadership and specialized skills, but frequently find their expertise overlooked or misinterpreted. Many face underemployment, not due to a lack of ability, but because the system fails to recognize their value. This mismatch can lead to financial strain and a loss of purpose. One veteran noted that their job, while requiring attention to detail, doesn't utilize their mechanical skills, emphasizing the pain of untapped potential. Despite these challenges, many veterans demonstrate resilience by leveraging soft skills, such as adaptability and mission-driven thinking, to carve out new paths. However, they shouldn't have to start from scratch to prove their value. This study advocates for a more effective approach that translates military experience into civilian opportunities, ensuring that we honor and utilize the talents of those who are served. Veterans transitioning to civilian careers bring a legacy of leadership, precision, and mission-driven excellence. However, many employers fail to recognize and value these skills, often sidelining leadership abilities as too rigid or misaligned with corporate culture. In technical fields such as engineering and IT, veterans possess significant experience, but face barriers due to civilian certification requirements, despite having operated at higher levels in high-stakes environments. Their soft skills, such as team coordination, project management, and rapid decision-making, are also often overlooked due to stereotypes and lack of veteran representation in civilian settings. This issue reflects a recognition gap rather than a skills gap. Employers who understand military experience can tap into a wealth of resilient and disciplined talent, while those who don't may continue to miss out on capable leaders. By failing to recognize veterans' capacity, we risk underutilizing valuable talent. Veterans' underemployment is a leadership failure, resulting from a lack of understanding and indifference towards military service. This chapter advocates for rebuilding the connection between military excellence and civilian opportunity. HR teams need to prioritize cultural competencies by understanding the roles and capabilities of military personnel. When employers grasp the value of service, they stop underestimating veterans. Career counseling must transition from generic checklists to tailored strategies that reflect veterans' experiences and potential. Moreover, mentorship should be institutionalized to provide guidance and trust that enhances career growth. Military training often surpasses civilian standards, yet outdated credentialing processes hinder veterans. Streamlining these systems is essential. Hiring practices should prioritize performance potential over pedigree, raising workforce quality rather than lowering standards. This chapter calls on employers, policymakers, and system designers to move from appreciation to alignment, as veteran underemployment represents a significant misalignment of integrity and leadership. Veteran underemployment stems from misalignment rather than a lack of capacity. Many veterans possess valuable leadership and technical skills, yet remain underutilized in the civilian workforce due to misunderstandings of their experience and inadequate transition programs. This study highlights a significant challenge. Military skills are often overlooked, leading veterans to feel they must restart their careers despite their qualifications. Employer misconceptions about adaptability hinder career advancement and diminish potential. To improve this situation, the research suggests 3 key actions. Match veterans to roles that truly reflect their value, recognizing their skills as a competitive advantage. Educate employees to look beyond uniforms and appreciate individual capabilities, fostering a culture of inclusion. Provide personalized transition support, including mentorship and counseling that respect each individual's unique journey and path. Ultimately, these barriers are about unlocking the potential of veterans, enhancing the workforce, and honoring our promise to those who served. This research journey has reshaped my understanding of service and transition. Walking along veterans revealed a truth. Our nation warriors return not to parades, but to puzzles, tasked with reassembling their purpose in an often unwelcoming world. Veterans offer more than skills, they bring discipline, leadership, and deep loyalty. Yet systemic barriers, misaligned credentials, and fragmented support hinder their path to fitting futures. The research culminates in a charge to employers: look beyond resume gaps. To policymakers, acknowledge the cost of underemployment. To all of us, honor service through action. As George Washington noted, how we treated our veterans has a lasting influence on future generations. Let's not just reflect on their experiences, let's respond. The following 3 slides offer additional information related to my dissertation that I will not be discussing. I have included them for reference. The first chart presents my abstract. The second is a sample of the references used in the dissertation. And the third chart contains the study's appendices. This research is not just bound by pages or presentations. It carries the weight of voices too often unheard. Each finding, each theme, and each quote is a reflection of the veteran who stepped forward, not just in service, but also to share their truths once again. This is not just data, it's a lived experience. It's a sacrifice refamed. It's a call to listen and to lead. The transition to civilian life should not be a test of endurance. It should be a passage of recognition. And that recognition begins with us, with leaders, educators, employers, and advocates who choose to see veterans not as a problem to solve, but as a partners to empower. Let this not be the end of a presentation, but the beginning of a movement, one where we carry these insights into boardrooms, policy tables, community centers, and classrooms, where change doesn't wait for permission. It begins with awareness and ends in action. I have one final thought. I want to express my gratitude to my wife of 59 years for her unwavering support during this period of study and recovery. I would not have succeeded without you by my side as my nurse and consultant. Thank you for your love. I appreciate it more than words can express. I love you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your presence, your attention, and your heartfelt support. Together we can transform reflection into reform. and build a workforce worthy of their return. Now I welcome your questions and look forward to the conversations that will continue to build on this research. Was always meant to achieve, sparking meaningful and lasting change. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou, for an amazing presentation. I have to say it's probably one of the most comprehensive presentations we've had in a while. And I'm not sure how I can top your heartfelt expressions to your wife. So I'm going to just give you a second to take a breath, maybe get a drink, and then I'll ask you my question. How's that?
Okay, thank you.
After my own heart, drinks Gatorade.
Okay, I think I've got my composure.
Okay. So I actually have one question. It's based on a conversation that you and I have had, actually. We talked about the emerging themes that your participants brought forward in their responses to your semi-structured interview questions.
Uh-huh.
And I was curious, and I never really asked this question outright to you in our discussions, but here's my curiosity question. What themes that were inherent in those 8 respondents that were among the 8, they all said the similar kind of thing, but you did not anticipate that theme to emerge? Like, it was one of those themes that you said, whew, okay, that's different. Didn't expect that.
Actually, the thing that struck me more than anything else was the emotional aspect. It floored me. And in fact, it helped explain why I didn't receive more respondents than I did. I sent out more than 50 requests for information from people who indicated that they would respond, but they did not. And then I realized that these people had such a terrible emotional experience. Failure is not something that you want to brag to anybody about. And this is essentially what I was asking them to do, to talk about why is it that they didn't fulfill the needs that they had expected. So the emotional aspect of it was probably the biggest aha experience that I had.
Awesome. I'm going to end my questions there and offer Dr. Houth the chance to ask her question.
Well, Lou, first of all, thank you for the presentation, but not only that, but for giving voice to an incredibly important group of people. And I know that with 8 participants, sometimes we step back and go, oh, that's not enough. It's enough, right? Those voices were heard, and your research is going to change lives moving forward. My question for you is, what's next with this study? Where are we going with it? Where does Lou see it going, and where can we make sure that others are accessing and getting this information?
That's one of my frustrations, because I'm not so sure I have a complete, clear answer to that. But certainly there are lots of outlets. In my research, I noticed that there were veterans organizations that published literature that I will probably want to tap into. And certainly, I'm going to have to investigate how best that I can access the Veterans Administration, and because they have publications that they send out as well.
Absolutely.
So that would be certain about my approach.
No, I think that's excellent, and I would absolutely encourage you to do that. That, and also see what types of conferences are being held, whether in person or virtually. We've changed so much now with our virtual conferences
Yep.
that this information needs to get out there. The you will be publishing with ProQuest, of course, but just making sure that we get some more information so that others can take the torch and continue, right? And as you
Yes.
as well, in leading the charge to make some changes, make sure that this information is available to others who are also researching supports and how veterans can enter the workforce in a positive and a proactive way. So I appreciate that very much and look forward to you. And you'll get nudges from your committee, of course, as we as we work through that. I also had a question about your aha moments. I know you mentioned that about the themes, but was there anything else in speaking with these individuals that stood out to you outside of the research questions? Like, were things that they shared with you that you didn't anticipate?
Well, I didn't quite honestly anticipate the reaction that a lot of industry had towards veterans.
Mhm.
We hear that veterans are appreciated in veterans program, but there are a lot of companies that just have such strong biases against veterans. I was really astounded to hear that.
That's amazing. I can see that. Uh, Absolutely. A lot of veterans in my family, so I definitely recognize that. And again, I'm going to continue to check in on where this research is going. So thank you, Lou, so much for an incredible manuscript, reading through it. A lot of things highlighted and extremely well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Olsek, your question?
Yes, thank you. And Lou, again, I really do appreciate all of the time and effort you have put into this. And it's extremely comprehensive, covers a lot of different areas that are definitely important, not only to veterans, but also to employers. Could you say just a couple of things, perhaps, about the participants that you had the opportunity to deal with directly, different grades, different military backgrounds, perhaps even geographic areas,
Yeah,
which might influence some of the hiring practices or
sure.
some of the reactions those veterans may have encountered?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, John. I'm quite frankly pleased with the demographics of the sample. There were 8 people, 4 Air Force, 4 Army, 1 Navy. So, I across the board, not necessarily in relative percentages of the services, but they were there. I had 2 people who retired, one enlisted person and one officer. The rest of them left the service before retirement. One of them was an officer, and the remainder were all enlisted men. So I got a real good sense from the breadth of the demographic. So I'm really happy with that.
I think that's a very important point. Sometimes I think if we simply step back and characterize veterans as veterans, it doesn't give them on an individual basis all of the credit they deserve for what it is they may have done in different roles and in different positions. And so I think your perspective on that, Lou, and your thoughts about how you can take advantage of all of the input you did receive and correlate that input with the background information you had an opportunity to use as reference, I think is very important. So
Yeah, and in fact, let me point out one other thing that it was really important. I probably would, if I was not a former military, I would not ever get any answers. What happened is they knew I was one of them. Have you ever tried to talk to a veteran who had been to a war situation? If you haven't been there, they'll never tell you. They know that you would not ever have an opportunity, you would not understand the environment and the emotion and the experience in a wartime situation. So the answer is, why bother?
yeah,
Well, the fact is that I was in the military. I experienced it. I experienced underemployment. I experienced transitioning. So they knew that I had credentials, and therefore they were willing to talk to me.
if I could just, offer a bit of personal perspective, having undergone one of those transitions many years ago, just like you did, Lou, that I started my transition off of active duty 6 months before I intended to retire. And I can appreciate some of the comments that you received from your participants about challenges along the way, because I have to admit that in that 6-month period, I struggled with many of those similar challenges. So your work here on this effort, to me, is personally very gratifying. And it's good to see that, we're still taking up causes like this on behalf of those who serve in our armed forces. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, at this time, what's going to happen is that we're going to take poor Lou and stick him in a breakout room by himself.
Dr. Pisani,
Oh,
I'm going to
wait,
interrupt.
I'm sorry, wait. Dr. Crystal, I just remembered you're
Yeah,
here
Dr. Crystal's here.
Would you like to ask a question?
Hi, Lou. It's Dr. Crystal. I just came to support and to also just comment on your incredibly robust research. So impressive. And, I've been with you since the beginning. I've been a fan cheering you on. So just one final question for you. I know we have a couple of other students on the call who are going through the research process now. So I wanted to see if you had any words of wisdom for the students on the call, and kind of looking back on your own journey, what advice you would give to them.
Well, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Had I understood what the end game was better than I did, it would have better prepared me for the beginning. Because now that I know what the end game is, I could have better prepared what my research should be. So I can't overemphasize that. Look forward to writing your dissertation and what the contents of the dissertation are and what you really want to get out of it. And then you can start doing your research. That would be my feedback.
Thank you, Lou. You've always been a beautiful storyteller, and you, as Dr. Hout said earlier, you really told these stories of the veterans very well, and it really shined through. So, thank you for the honor of learning from you along this journey.
Thank you, and I appreciate your effort as well.
All right, on that note, Lou, we are going to now send you to that dreaded breakout room alone. And then we're going to send everybody else to a separate breakout room, and
I'm
the
doing that
committee
right
will
now.
confer.
And
Yep.
then
Please, folks, hold all chats until the end. We don't,
Yes.
just as part of the process, we don't really want to circumvent the deliberation process of the committee. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. All right, I'm going to open all the rooms now, and we'll come to get you very soon. Thank you.